Well, hello. I guess this is episode 2. We just talked a whole bunch. We had to stop ourselves from talking more. We should probably just save it for the podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
I'm already burnt out. How about you, Eric?
No, I'm ready to go. Because like I said, I stopped myself so that I would have stuff to talk about.
All right.
What do you want to talk about?
We're not going to talk about gay anymore because that was the first episode. Watch the first episode to find out what we talk about.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. All right, so I want to talk about if the world is going to end.
Is there more to that? Are you asking me if
Oh
it's
man,
going
we
to
could go in
end?
a whole bunch of different directions.
Are you asking me if it's going to end, or are you asking me if the world's going to end, ... as in like, how would you like it to end? If it was to end.
Ooh.
Which of those is what you're trying to say?
All right.
I feel like they're very different questions.
So in this video, we're going to talk about, is the world going to end?
Yes.
Is humanity going to end?
Probably.
Is society going to fall?
Oh, of course.
And what ways would we like to destroy everything if we could, for fun?
The super volcano below Yellowstone exploding, I think would be the best way.
You've probably looked more into that. Would that wipe out the whole humanity? Mm-hmm. Oh, sweet. Isn't that overdue?
Yeah.
Oh man, thank God it's like tardy.
Yeah. Essentially, what would happen is it would wipe out pretty much everything on this side of the planet, like in this hemisphere, and then it would cover the entire world in an ash cloud that would drop the temperature so much that it would be pretty much uninhabitable, and also there would be no sunlight. It would block all sunlight, so we wouldn't be able to grow food anymore.
Isn't that what already happened to the dinosaurs? Is a crazy volcano?
Oh, there's lots of theories. There's the theory of the asteroid. There's the theory of just shifting time. Mm-hmm. And just because of the shifts, it just caused an unlivable situation for them. A lot of the times, the animals that you see being the least likely to survive a shift in their climate are the ones that are like the apex predators, because they're the apex predator in a very specific criteria, in the sense of like they have a very specific way and a very specific food, and that's what they eat and that's how they live. But if you change any part of it, they don't know how to adapt, so they end up just dying out.
I think I want us all to just stop existing in a physical form and then go into the astral plane. I don't know what that is exactly.
I don't think that's an apocalypse, really. That would just be like
basically
the Waco.
Well, like all the living things,
everyone.
you know, you see all the living things like walking around, right? And then they all just like fall, and then all of the like the spirits in them just kind of like flow away and kind of like
just a mass astral projection.
Yeah, it's just like a mass exodus of Earth. But it could just be all living things because we don't really know how many living things there are throughout the universe, but just like all throughout the universe, mass exodus of spirits.
Fascinating thought. Why is that the thing?
Huh?
Why?
Oh, because then you could, because then I could fantasize about what senses I would keep. Because obviously you could say like, well, you know, all of our senses are just because of the chemical processes in our body, right? Yeah. But like, I know oftentimes when people say like out of body experience, they specifically talk about sights. Mm-hmm. They see a certain thing. So we'll say sights at least, right? Because that's the out of body experience.
Sight and hearing, I imagine.
Sure. And then there's also hearing. But the big thing is, right? Sense of touch often goes along with pain. And there's a lot of human suffering with physical pain. So really, I think the fantasy is just either take out feeling altogether or somehow just stop pain.
Some pain is important. Some pain is necessary because it keeps you from doing things that harm your body.
But if you mass exodus into just pure experience.
So if you physically can't be harmed, what
exactly.
would be I think people would become disassociated and just not care anymore.
Well,
and then existence just ends.
Then they'll be like me. No, like I feel like that's me, because like, but basically I'm trying to tell you like that's how I feel like I'm experiencing life right now. I'm just kind of flying through space as fast as I can and trying to experience as much as I can.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that would be the fantasy, because then it would just be that, but without physical pain. I do what I can to minimize physical pain because I'm sure you've seen someone in a lot of pain. It's horrible to watch.
Yeah.
So if I could just take that out, just physical pain in general as a fantasy, I think that would be sweet. And then if it's the end of the world too, that's pretty cool too.
How's that the end of the world though? It's just a new step, because you just took all life and moved it to a new place. So it's not really the end of the world.
Well, the world is the planet.
Just an exodus, really.
So just leave the planet.
Okay.
Well, there is no real end of the world anyway. Like, even if all the living things die off, the planet's fine.
It's very arrogant to say the end of the world.
Well, that's the only thing our whole way of speech is based around purely human existence. It has nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah. You're right.
So, I do think it's arrogant, but at the same time, if I speak as if I'm not...
we're an arrogant species.
Yeah, if I feel like I'm speaking as if I'm not part of this arrogant species, then I start freaking people out. And they're like, well, if you're not human, what the hell are you then?
I think extinction's a better way to phrase it.
Extinction,
because a species can go extinct.
Sure.
So, like, humans could go extinct, but the world wouldn't end.
I wonder if when people say the end of the world, they're only talking about human extinction.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I believe you, but that's dumb.
Yeah.
But
the end of the world is like a Krypton thing, like Superman world, like the core overheats and the whole planet explodes. That's the end of the world.
Now we're talking.
That's an actual world.
Now that's an actual world-ending thing.
That's not,
or a big weird like robot-looking thing just starts like emerging out of the planet, and then the Eternals stop us,
and we never talked about it again.
But then the Eternals.
There's a hand. There's a hand and a face sticking out, half a face, just sticking out of the Indian Ocean. And there have been like 2 or 3
That's
more
how the
Marvel
world ends.
Shows and movies.
Real life Eternals fail miserably because Icarus doesn't fly too close to the sun or whatever dumb crap that story was. And then...
No, so seriously.
Oh God, the fourth wall!
There's a hand and a face sticking out of the planet in the Marvel Universe. There have been, how many shows and movies since the Eternals movie?
At least 70. I have no idea. Seems like it, right?
Feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
No one has talked about it.
It's the only, what's it called? It's the only incontinuity in the Marvel Universe.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Somebody has to say something about it. There was a celestial came to Earth and it just hung out outside the planet, traveling through a black hole, and it's never been discussed.
But also, if we talk about it all, we're giving the movie respect as if it deserves any respect. But really...
Harry Styles showed up at the end.
Yeah, we have to decide that the Eternals doesn't matter and it doesn't exist anymore. That's how I do with things in the world that don't deserve respect. They just go away. Just don't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, they're still there. You can't just act like they aren't.
Well, like they can exist, but they can't exist in my Marvel. It's like headcanon. My headcanon is the Eternals doesn't exist. I mean, if you think about it, canonically speaking, that actually does make sense.
I mean, that's how they're thinking. It's like the hardest retcon I've ever seen. It's just
if you give me a strawberry and tell me it's an apple, then I'm gonna be like, well, I'm pretty sure it's a strawberry. You know what I'm saying? People lie. Yeah. Eternals make sense, and then I go, no. I don't believe that. It doesn't make any sense. And then it just doesn't have to be canon. But luckily, the whole MCU is basically that right now. Nothing really goes together all that well. So nothing really is required to...
fictionally, right?
Yeah. Well, that too, Any kind of thing. But anyway, so is the human existence going to end? And when?
Yeah.
When?
I'm not an expert, but I would probably say within the next 100 years.
So I think we're going to lose at least half the population for some reason within the next 100 years.
Yeah.
But it's going to either be like a societal failing because we're going from like, area to area, its own society. All societies are like kind of merging because the internet and shipping and all this stuff are just kind of merging into one society kind of. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like the strawberry and the apple thing, like we're all separate, right? And I'm like, I look around, it's like everyone's connected and we're all being told similar things all throughout the world. Pretty sure we're all merging together, even though like technically aren't. Especially because, companies, this company from this country is shaking hands with this company from this country, and a lot of shaking hands through all the different countries. But hold on, the government, the government isn't shaking hands with other governments necessarily, right? We're not sure, but we know for sure the companies are. We know the companies are funding a lot of the governments. So, yes, we're pretty much already merged.
You went all over the place there.
Yeah, but because of that, societally,
I don't know how to respond.
That's how we'll fall.
You said about 6 different things that some of them all contradicted each other.
Oh.
So I'm not sure what you mean.
Oh no, I was just basically leading to my conclusion that I think as a whole, the world as just one unified society-ish, not quite unified, will fall together.
So are you just saying that the world has come together, but the governments haven't figured it out yet?
No.
Okay.
I'm going against I'm going based off of what's happening and what we're being told.
What do you feel we're being told?
What the news tells us? It's like a million things.
Okay.
Do you want me to go into specifics?
I think the news has a very important part to play, but it's not playing it. It's actually it's leading us towards the downfall like you're talking about. It's mostly because the news is about making money instead of informing the electorate, which is what it's supposed to do.
News is funded, and it's got a lot of funding.
There are people who genuinely care about what people know. I think that's what a journalist's number one job is to ensure that people know what happens and know it accurately. And I feel like that's become less important.
I think it's still important to some, just not the ones.
I misphrased. I don't mean that it isn't important. I mean that it's become less important to them. They're more worried about making money so that they can keep getting paid by their job, and not less worried about providing the truth.
Well, you could also make the argument that these people who are saying they're journalists that work for these news corporations aren't really journalists because they're not doing what you think journalists should do, which I kind of agree. So really, they're just actors. Have you seen that video clip where it's like, hey, you ever notice that when they hire news reporters in movies, they don't hire actors? They hire the actual news reporter.
Yeah.
Because no one acts better than actual news reporters.
True.
They're the best.
It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. It's hard to, and it's done on purpose so that people don't trust what they hear.
It serves a whole bunch of purposes, but that's one of them, yeah.
The only way the world works in an actual utopia is if everyone communicates accurately. If you don't do that,
there's always lying.
Okay.
The lying can't end.
Here's the thing. People don't lie for no reason.
Yeah, there's a million reasons to lie.
I'm saying that if you neglect the majority of the reasons to lie, which are usually money, to make money, to get food, to get an advantage in some way, if everyone is truly equal and everyone has the same advantages, there's no reason to lie.
This is the only reason to lie. You say, hey, this is what I deserve in life. Why? Because of this, and then there's the lie, and it doesn't matter. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do that.
Lying. That's not necessarily lying, that's delusion. There's a difference. Lying because you don't know any better is a more delusional thing. Like, you just don't understand. Lying because you do what I consider lying is when you do know better, but you say the opposite anyway because you know that what you say, if you say the opposite, it will get you a better result.
Would you like to hear some examples of my memory of how lying works really, really well for a whole bunch of different reasons?
I've lied so much of my life.
I don't want to hear your lies. I don't want to hear mine either. I just want to hear I just want to say some of the lies I've said, and they've very much benefited people. For instance, I know somebody that was like, hey, look, I have these kids, I need help. I actually knew multiple people that did this. And then once other people decided to help them, they could say, ooh, I also need this, I also need this, I also need this, I also need this. But in actuality, the lie was that, no, I'm just using you. And it's very obvious. But the lie is, well, actually, I just need your help. Please feel bad for me. So not so much of lying, I guess, as opposed to just overall. I'm talking about manipulation and deception. That's the thing that can't ever go away because it works the best. The only time it doesn't work is if you get caught. If you just don't get caught. But you could even lie and manipulate, deceive for I've seen it months and years before, decades before people figure it out. And then guess what? It worked for that long. And then, you got caught? Cool. Lied to a different person? You can start the whole process over again.
I genuinely believe that if everyone had their needs met and provided for, people wouldn't manipulate as much because they would have no reason to.
Desire is
what?
Desire is the reason for everything.
But if all of your desires and if your needs are met, what is there to desire?
Do you know what people desire?
They desire more than what they need because they've never had their needs met.
people desire different things, but if you pile up all the desires,
That's also partially manipulated because people are manipulated to desire more than what they're capable of having.
no, I mean, like, if you look at, like, everyone's desires, right? Every human being's desires, and you pile them up,
Okay.
it's every possible thing. Every possible thing that somebody can imagine has been a desire.
Most desires are, even if you finally get the thing, you're not going to feel any better.
Well, I know, that's how desire works. That's why desire is basically the enemy.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it's still the number one reason for everything we do. It's the number one motivation.
No, it isn't. Survival.
No.
Yeah.
No. Survival is like, because if I'm...
It's human nature. Survival is human nature. You want
Well, sure.
to live.
Well, sure, but right now I'm not surviving. I'm doing pretty well,
Okay.
so I'm not surviving anymore. I'm purely, what do I want? My desires. So, like, I used to be more survival when I was, when my mental health was always on the brink, or my emotional health, or my family was falling apart. Yeah, I've been through survival like that. But in terms of right now, I'm not in survival. It's just down to desire. But even if I was in survival, that would still be my desires too. So it's either one, but it's not always survival.
Interesting.
I do think that, yes, it does seem as if everyone has their needs met, then what would you have to desire? But there's plenty of things you could look into, like people that have their needs met, they still have desires, and oftentimes, I mean, like, so no one knows everyone's personal lives, right? But you can notice patterns. So, like, if you look at celebrities, what's helpful about celebrities is they're, like, highly publicized. They try to hide, oftentimes they can't. And obviously, like, that kind of news that we get about celebrities could be lies, could be deception, manipulation, a whole bunch of reasons to manipulate, see, whatever, right? But oftentimes you'll see that people that have their needs met, they have a lot of problems because they have new desires. Because the desires don't just go away, even if you have your needs met. I mean, like, I have a lot more money now. I have a nice car, a nice house. So all my needs are met. I happen to have food. All my needs are met. I still have tons of desires. That's like, you can't get away from it. And often there's a bunch of, like, rich people that have had interviews. You could just say that they're lying, for whatever reason. But they will say, like, hey, once you get enough money that you can buy everything you want and everything that you need or whatever, then you realize, oh crap, I still want stuff. I just want things in general. And a lot of those times you're like, oh crap, I thought the money or the house or the car or whatever was gonna fill that void of this thing that I needed my needs fulfilled. And then I realized, no, oftentimes people are just unhappy in general, no matter what.
Yeah, and we've designed an entire society based around things. So everybody thinks if I get the thing, I'll be happy. You won't, because nothing can make you happy.
Yeah.
No thing, I want to make sure that I get that accurately. No, I'm serious. No thing can make you happy.
Except for 2024 Kia K5 has made me very happy. It is a
Sponsor
thing.
us, please.
I can just let go of the steering wheel. It just turns on its own.
Does it really? Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that.
And then I've always been a firm believer, and obviously, like, I want everyone to have everything they want, except the fact that a lot of people want things that hurt people.
I don't want everyone to have everything they want. I want everyone to have everything they need.
But check this out, right? Because we pretty much disagree on everything. All right, so, like, I want you to tell me, how do you know if you need something?
If you don't have it, will you die?
Okay, so that's all right. So that's more of like a timescale thing, because, like, if you don't get anything right now, you'll probably be fine for a while. Especially because of the prison experiments, where, like, not the prison experiments, I forget what it's called. It's basically the hunger strikes they did in prison. You know about those?
No.
So this is back when, like, less people had a whole bunch of calories to store up a bunch of, body fat to survive longer, which is not necessarily a good thing because they die faster if they starve. But so, like, when they were doing the hunger strikes in prison because the living conditions in the prison were so horrible, I can't remember when and where this was, 40s or 50s maybe. then they noticed it was always about 42 days. I don't know if they were also not drinking water. I know they for sure weren't eating. I can't remember about the water or not water thing. Jamie? We don't have a Jamie. So this is why money is important, because then we can pay a Jamie and he can just do this every time we have a conversation.
I assume that was a reference to something that I just don't know about.
Oh, Joe Rogan.
Oh.
Jamie? This is Joe Rogan, like the whole show. He's like, they have a conversation. I don't know something, anything. Jamie, look that up real fast.
Go to the Rogan checker.
Let's go to the Rogan checker. But the Rogan.
I'm gonna say some shit that's just blatantly untrue. This was the deal I cut to get back on Spotify. I'm gonna have a checker.
But yeah, like if there's an article, then it seems like that's true. But then you have to dig, and there's like some sources that are more trustworthy than others. But then maybe you know that this website got funded by this corporation, so like, hold on, I can't trust this website. Maybe I still can. Maybe I don't trust it. Like a corporation can just buy opinions on a website, but whatever.
It's probably the easiest thing to go off of, and why they're, people can say what they want about why we're trying to ban TikTok, but I really think it's because it's just a way for an open forum for people to say their opinion, and it's not a bot, it's a person. Like
yeah,
it's
I've only learned just
and
a lot
of the time it's
things.
video, active live video of a place of what's happening.
Yeah.
And instead of, do you want to know? This is a good example. Do you want to know why people were extremely anti-Vietnam, and they, in a way that they've never been against any other war in American history?
Hold on, let me think about this.
It's not a political reason. It's not a reason we went to the war reason. It's not anything like that.
Why do I think people were against Vietnam?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the reason mostly is it was the first war in American history. They gave journalists open, like, basically they let them go where they wanted to go and show what they wanted to show.
So they learned from their mistake. They learned about the consequences of that.
And they
behavior.
showed the people what was actually happening. And the people saw it and went, holy shit, this is awful.
Yeah, it sounds like that wouldn't benefit the government too much.
It wouldn't. That's why they don't do it anymore.
Should probably not do that.
No, we should do that.
Well, they shouldn't. It's their decision. That would just screw them over.
Only if you're doing things that are awful. If you don't do awful things, you don't have to be worried. That's the thing. I get so frustrated with, like, people are afraid of transparency because they know, people are only afraid of transparency because they know that if people actually genuinely looked into everything that they've done, they would see so many horrible things in their past. Look, everyone's done horrible shit. So total transparency is very terrifying. That's
Except for me and Eric.
Does it.
We haven't done anything bad. What's that you said? That's a lie. That didn't even happen.
Yeah, prove it.
Aha. Hopefully we never get big.
Court.
If we ever do get big, someone will come for us. That's what I've learned about
of course. That's
being
the way
famous.
The world works.
Yeah.
Because
hey, he's more successful than me. I gotta knock him down.
Here's the thing. No one is perfect.
Yeah.
As long as the things you've done, there's a sliding scale of how bad things are, I think. Because there's a huge difference between sex trafficking and rape and, like, oh, I used the R word on Twitter once.
The problem is there's too many R words. So which R word could it be?
Come on, man.
Well,
Context.
You said
I'm not going to say it out loud because I know that it hurts people.
You said the grape word. So the Welch's grape word. That's an R word too. That triggers people.
But here's the thing. I'm not insulting it. I'm treating it with the gravity that it deserves.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the difference.
Sure.
That's what I try to preach is context.
So let me tell you about what I mean when I say, and this is why people disagree, okay? Because, like, our words don't even have the same meanings. So of course that's going to lead to disagreements all across the board.
What do you mean our words don't have the same meanings?
So I'll have my own meaning for the word need, and you'll have yours own, and it doesn't match up in the slightest.
What is your idea of a need?
So like I've been listening to a lot of.
Don't name anybody. What are your ideas of needs?
Well, it's led me to beliefs, so I want to explain
Sure.
why. So basically, the video clips I watch, they'll say stuff like, well, like, does this type of thinking lead to success? And then, so one way of thinking, what I'm talking about is basically like, you figure out what you want, you focus on what you want, and then you figure out what you need to do to get what you want. And that's my needs.
That's not a need.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're saying that, and in my opinion, that's not a need, because you're interpreting your needs based on needs as in, I need this so that I can get what I want. You're still leading into what you want, not what you need.
The basis is want.
It isn't though. Everyone,
For me it is.
Everyone needs food, everyone needs water, everyone needs shelter, everyone needs medical care. Those are needs.
But what's the point? Because before we even started talking about this, I said, this is why the world can't agree, because we can't even agree on the meaning of the word. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. So we already have...
How are those not needs?
So like the need...
You need those things or you die.
The need is based on the context and the
context is
perspective.
you die if you don't have it.
Well, yeah, sure, but like my want isn't, and hear me out, okay? If your want is to live, and that's your want, sure, those are the things you need to do. My want is not to live. I have way more loftier goals.
I'm not saying that those, and what I'm saying is those are not, I'm not trying to downplay those necessarily. I think that if your needs are met inherently, like, which we can do, it's harder to get you need your wants to be happy. But
So-
if you go after your wants, but your needs aren't met, your want will never fulfill.
Did you say want happy?
Is that not why you want things?
No, I talked to you about this. All right, I talked to Eric about this. All right, happiness should never be the goal, ever. And I've already told him this, but he
What's
doesn't.
the point of life?
Because the goal isn't happy.
Why is that not the goal?
Because happiness, just like every other emotion, is only temporary and can only be temporary. It's the same reason, like if you go after desire and you get the thing you desired, you're just gonna want it faster and more. This is why desire is such a bad thing. It's the same thing as chasing happiness. It all leads down the path of suffering.
I think happiness is linked to contentment.
But also, like you could say, but we might have different definitions of what happy is. So it doesn't even matter. I won't tell you what my definition of happy is because it's just going to lead us down a path.
Can I give you mine?
Sure.
I think happiness is I wake up in the morning and instead of worrying about all the different things I have to do, I wake up in the morning knowing that the things that I need are met, and the things that will become problems I can handle. So I'm content, and I wake up and I am calm.
Calm.
Yes, I want calm. I want peace. I've never had it.
It's interesting you said that because I'll tell you, the reason I don't go after happiness, because typically happiness is seen as just like temporary emotion, is because I think it's more important to go after being at peace. So your peace is part of your equation of happy, but I've simplified it down to, doesn't matter what else is going on, are you at peace? Are you upset but still at peace? Are you angry but still at peace? Are you sad but still at peace? Or are you excited? Are you distracted? Are you wound up? You know what I mean? Like, because then the more ramped up you are in any kind of fashion, the more likely you're not going to be at peace and you'll be more distracted, you make more impulsive decisions.
The reason I say that your needs need to be met for that is because if you're constantly in the survival mode, like, I have to do these things or else I'll die, you can never be at peace.
But you just said, like, this is why people do everything they do is because of survival. But I think if you follow that route of just trying to survive, that's going to lead you down bad decisions, a bad perspective, a bad way of living.
I'm saying that you shouldn't have to do that. That's the point I'm making.
So you're saying, but heck man, so my number one thing of survival, the government or money couldn't have saved me growing up. So like if I had my needs met of food, we'd say food, medical, water, shelter.
I think you should throw love in there.
Well, you didn't. Are you throwing it in now?
I am now.
There we go. Okay, so yeah. Well, there's a problem with love too, actually, because I'm sure you know there's different kinds of love. I think it was Greek in Greek, they defined the different kinds of love because there's different kinds of love, and if you group them all together, it's gonna make things complicated.
There's platonic love, there's romantic love, there's
like 7.
sensual love.
Yeah, there's basically puppy love. There's basically like new relationship love. There's like sexual love. There's it's like long-term relationship love. What's interesting though is the reason I loved it, learning about it so much is because like there's a lot of people nowadays I notice they go into the puppy love and it's very exciting. Obviously, it's a thing that people fall for, but then they don't realize that a type of love is long-term love. And the reason that's so important is because that's a whole another experience, because you have to get past the new fun stage. And then the goal isn't fun or happy. The goal is like staying together. It's kind of like what I'm saying about like wants and needs, right? Like, so let's say you want to stay with someone for a long time, right? That's probably, in my opinion, a want. I don't think you need to. Like you said, like you really only need, like, this, that, and the other. But
societally,
like
if you look back at society, the only time societies have ever thrived is whenever people group together as a unit.
Here we go. Like, how about one day in your life, you specifically, have you said, I need to do this? And if you didn't do it, would you still have lived?
If I did say that it wasn't a need.
But maybe it was though. Well, maybe there's 2 different kinds of needs. Maybe there's a need you're talking about. You need certain things to live, but maybe it's still important to have the need thought, or at least the need perspective.
That's an obligation.
To motivate to do certain things. Sure.
To me, that's an obligation, not a need.
Yeah, but that's what we use the word for also.
That's just because people don't know enough
Oh
words.
shit, I need to clean. You don't need to clean.
You don't need to clean. That's not a need.
But we say it enough, it's kind of become one of the definitions. You know what I'm saying?
I would say a better phrasing is I have to clean. And that could be for a number of reasons. I have to clean because I have to, for my own mental health is usually the case. People clean because they need it to feel good. Also because things being clean, we've learned through history, is if things are dirty, they can cause disease. So it is actually a need.
Well, I think what I've noticed is, I don't actually know the reason.
How many people do you think watching right now are distracted by Dozer and the cat in the background? Because Dozer's literally directly in between the two of us moving around this whole time.
Dozer is doing nothing.
I just happened to look up at the screen and I was just like, oh, Dozer's in the shot. That's great.
Let's see here. I think I will try to do, so there's a friend of mine. He said, why don't you guys do an hour and a half? I feel like if we did an hour and a half, you guys could still shut it off after 5 minutes, so it doesn't matter. Or we could just go until Eric gets worn out.
I don't know if that'll ever happen.
You'll never get worn out? Are we gonna play chicken with the podcast?
I'm just having a conversation. You're the one who's thinking about it in those terms.
Yeah, that's fair. I can keep going though.
Okay.
I just like to keep talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, so I don't know. I see it as need, but now we've gone in circles, so now this is horrible. But anyway, let's
that's
go.
most people. If you can't, I think a lot of people refuse to accept new information because it goes against something that they know about themselves. And if you have to learn something new, it sounds hard and it can shatter your reality, and people are scared of that. That's the same reason why we were talking about earlier. There's racists in the world. They were taught to be that way from the very young age, and they don't know any other way to be. And if you tell them that it's bad, it's like, well, wait, that means that my parents are bad, my town is bad, everything I've believed my entire life is bad. That can't be true. No, you're wrong. You're a bad person.
Well, hold on. Shane Gillis mentions that racism isn't a thing that you just always are or always aren't. It's basically like you'll just be driving down the road and a cheeseburger cuts you off, and then you don't like cheeseburgers. It's kind of like that.
You don't want to burn a cross on someone's lawn because they cut you off in traffic.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's not.
Just saying. It's usually
a very extreme thing. I don't know if we're still doing that, actually. Jamie, are we still burning crosses on people's lawns?
I don't know when the last time someone burned a cross on someone's lawn was, but I know that in Tennessee they burned a huge amount of books because they thought they were bad. So maybe it's just shifted.
Yeah,
because we know that societally you're not allowed to do that. So they just found a new thing to burn. They just found a new thing to hate, a new way to may create an example of their hatred rather than...
I just think burning books is just a form of censoring. So if we can't burn books, then we can't censor.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going with that.
Yeah. Well,
I thought you were saying that the burning of the books is censorship.
No, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think it depends on why you're burning them.
No, like, we disagree on that too. Like, I don't think intent is the thing we need to react to, because you could simply lie about intent, or you could trick people into believing intent, and they'll believe it because people are easily swayed. Like you said, why are people racist? Because they're easily swayed.
What's up?
You want to go outside? Kill that dozer outside.
Sure. It's already unlocked. There you go, buddy. I think intent's one of the only things that matter.
It matters, but like...
It matters because it is easy to see.
Well, here's why intent's terrible.
Do you know what the phrase? I know what it actually is, but in terms of it has a different meaning in this case. Have you ever heard of a dog whistle?
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean in this context?
No.
It's saying one thing, but there are undertones to what you're saying that the people who need to hear it or want to hear it will hear it. So if I say something that, grand scheme, I didn't say anything bad, but I use certain words that other people who are listening for those words picked up. You see what I'm saying? It's like, we need to take our country back, and we need to fight for America, and we need to do this and that. Now you and me would hear that and say, oh, well, we have to go vote, we have to do this and that, we got to do these things. People who are listening for certain things are going to say, we need to go and we need to storm the Capitol and kill all the people that we don't agree with. And you say it to rile those people up to do that thing. But because you used very specific terminology, you can't be like arrested or anything because, well, I didn't tell them to do any of that.
Have you heard of a lawyer?
Yeah.
What do lawyers do?
Pretty much what I just described.
What you just described. So what's the basis of law? What you just described is the basis of law.
It is.
So how? So yeah, but I'm talking about law in terms of how do you respond legally. So then, since that's just how law is in general.
That's why they bring psychologists in. Yeah. To interpret words and actions.
Everything's still based on evidence, so you can't but that's the thing. So
this is the problem: is you don't accept expert opinion as evidence.
I think it is used as evidence.
No, that's not what I said. I said you don't accept it as evidence, not that it is used as evidence.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about legally before.
Oh.
I was talking about my perspective on the world. So I'll explain. All right, so I have noticed that very intelligent people in my life, who I could tell were very, very intelligent, I would watch them lie. They just didn't care. Now, Koseki says, bless his heart, which he might be true, if you're an expert in something, then you wouldn't lie.
For the record, expert and very, very intelligent are not necessarily the same thing. They usually are. When I say expert, I don't mean they are just very, very smart. I mean, in this particular field, they are an expert. They have studied it for years. They have written papers. They have been reviewed by their peers to be an expert.
So is there a board they have to?
Yeah, you get peer reviewed. That's how scientific papers get written. They get reviewed and they try to disprove your thing. And if they're incapable of doing that, that is the accepted answer.
I'm not trying to tell you wrong. I'm asking because you're saying you're saying what an expert is, right?
Yes.
What is actually legally an expert?
I don't know the legal definition.
You know what I'm saying? Well, then I can't have an opinion on expert. You know what I'm saying?
You can look up the legal definition of expert.
Well, sure, except right now I don't know what it exactly means.
Do you want me to look it up?
No, we'll look it up later. Okay,
but it's pertinent to the conversation we're having.
We don't have a Jamie though. I've been over this.
Here, my name's Jamie now.
Great, now I don't have a conversation person anymore.
I'm still talking to you. I'm just also looking something up.
Problem
you
is,
dick.
No, like
Literally will take me 2 seconds.
no, I think like there are certain things that are just always on the table. I think like it doesn't matter who someone is, they have the capacity. I think everyone has the capacity to do anything, all the time.
A person who has a comprehensive and authoritative knowledge of or skill in a particular area.
Vague, doesn't mean anything.
Not vague. That gave you exactly what you needed to know.
You don't have to go to a board. You don't have to do anything. You just have to have that opinion about yourself, and then you're an expert.
No, you don't call yourself an expert. You have to be called an expert by others.
By who?
Your peers in that field of study. The area of expertise. There are not ever only one. Other experts will say, wow, this person knows their shit.
So typically there's...
You're not named an expert by yourself. You don't go, I'm an expert in this. Don't worry. It's like, well, who told you?
Well, typically if you need to like hit a rank or a class or whatever of something, there's something you have to do to get there. But that's not explaining that. And maybe there is a way to do that. That's the question I was asking.
If you want to quantify it, there are...
Exactly.
Okay. You can have a master's in it. You can have a PhD in it. You can write papers on it that are peer reviewed by other people that agree with, that say, I can't find any fault in your writing.
It sounds like what you're saying is just based on opinion.
It's not. It's not opinion. It's I proved this. I can't prove you're wrong. So it's not even, that's peer review, but I'm not even talking about that. If I say this, if I look up and I study the Revolutionary War and I say this happened during this battle and I cite my sources of why this happened, that is not my opinion. That's what happened because I looked it up and I studied it and I researched it. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm telling you what happened. And that's what I'm trying to explain. If you know enough in a certain field that you're an expert, your opinion on that field, on that situation carries more weight than either of us.
What about that guy that you know is an expert?
Which one?
But you probably don't want to listen to what he has to say.
You're talking about Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
I've listened to what he has to say.
All right.
I think the problem is that...
Is he an expert?
No.
Why do you think that?
Because other experts have told me that he is wrong. If you line up 10 doctors and 9 out of those 10 doctors say this person doesn't know what they're talking about, they're wrong, then that person is not an expert.
How many people said he was wrong?
I can't remember their names, but I know I've seen tons of stuff from other psychologists basically saying that the stuff he's saying is kind of asinine.
So what you're saying is a person, Jordan Peterson, who probably was considered an expert for probably decades before he got in trouble. He was really popular and he was considered pretty much an expert for decades.
He was discredited.
Before he was discredited, he wasn't for a long time. I'm just saying, like, he was an expert for a long time.
I know he was a professor.
Something happened and then he wasn't an expert anymore. So I'll look into it, but I have a feeling he is an expert.
So what happened?
Probably seen as an expert.
So what happened to Jordan Peterson is he got fired from. He misunderstood a law, refused to accept that he was wrong, refused to. It wasn't. You weren't going to go to jail, which is what he was saying. He also refused the policy of the college, which was follow the preferred pronouns of the students. He refused to do it, so they fired him. He believed he was wrongfully terminated. He wasn't. He refused to do it. A certain group of people, specifically mostly Christian conservatives, really liked what he had to say, and a lot of his opinions and a lot of things he said shifted to the right over time as they were the people who propped him up.
Do you have any examples of his opinions changing to the right?
I haven't looked that much into it.
I've been listening to him a lot, and he hasn't.
No.
From everything I've heard, he hasn't changed at all.
He just recently debated. What the hell's his name? Something Dillahunt, a very popular atheist, and he told him, "You're not actually an atheist," and he's like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "No, because you have a moral code." And he's like, that has no bearing on whether or not I believe in God. And he's like, well, you may think that you don't believe in God, but you actually do because you have a moral code. And I'm like, and I'm listening to this and I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This guy's genuinely an idiot who believes he's smart.
I don't think he's an idiot.
He sounds very smart.
No,
like
he
Ben
doesn't.
Shapiro.
He doesn't just sound smart.
I've heard him say things that I may agree with.
Well, no, he
every
like
once in a
he
while.
basically thinks like me, but I don't
think that's true.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like pretty much agree on everything he has to say. Except like even the atheist thing, it's like, well, that's dumb. That just makes you look stupid. But I understand what he's saying. It's just that he just sounds dumb.
It sounds like what he believes is that if you only have a moral code if you have a soul, or if as in you only don't do things because of the threat of punishment of God.
Jordan Peterson isn't religious.
Yes, he is. He's Christian.
He's not. I'll explain because I probably know more about this than you do, okay?
Hold on.
Jordan Peterson legit believes that the Bible, religion, the whole thing is just a metaphor, and you should listen to all the lessons. It's basically like a how-to guide of how to be a human. He's mentioned this multiple times. I've seen it. Now, but it's like the apple and the strawberry thing, or apple and orange, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You know, he says or maybe the internet, or he says hey, I'm religious. Okay, well, let's look at the evidence. The evidence is, he says multiple times actually, I don't believe in God, but I live my life as if he does exist. And I feel the same exact way.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'll explain. So there's tons of lessons in the Bible.
That still sounds like living your life out of fear.
Well, it depends on what your feelings on God are. Let's say your feelings on God is he's an asshole and he lies and he makes everybody suffer and you should be terrified of him. Okay, sure. Let's say also you just think that God is just like the love that surrounds the universe and all of reality. Let's say that you also just think like God is simply the rules of physics. There's different interpretations of God. So it doesn't have to be fear. Now, I feel like it might mean that maybe that's how you were taught.
I was going to say, I'm going off of the Christian churches that I went to as a kid.
Yeah, but you from hearing how you talk about things, your religion was probably toxic. Well, the people that were influenced your religious beliefs, I'm pretty sure they just were probably all toxic. It wasn't on the basis of love, I'm assuming. Hey, everybody, let's all work together as a society, and that's the basis of our religion. And then go from there, you know what I mean?
Here's the thing. When I was younger, and I'm reading through these things, and I'm getting told that he's all about love, and he's all about acceptance, and he's all about everything that you're taught, and in certain parts of the Bible is love your neighbor, take care of each other, accept people for who they are, because everyone is God's children. And I took that to mean okay, so we should make sure everybody is safe and comfortable. And then it was oh no, that's all that we meant at all. It's well, but that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if you read the Bible and just take your own interpretation of it, then it makes sense. But if you listen to other people's interpretation, which is why church is oftentimes, it makes people atheists basically, because you're oh, this is what the Bible means. Well, I don't agree with it, so all of religion is stupid to me now, and it ruins people all the time. But church is so beneficial financially to a lot of people that they're not going to stop. There's a guy that looks like a demon. You know that about? You know what I'm talking about? It's
I know. Yeah.
If you believe in demons, you got to believe that guy's a demon.
Like a demon in a flesh suit.
He tried to grab the human suit and he accidentally went to the demon rack. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. I look ridiculous. They're not going to.
I am proportionate at all.
I am so good at this. They're going to believe me anyway. Whatever, crazy demon guy. We'll see. Oh, shit, he was right. That darn demon guy.
Yep.
No, but so I do think that, so right now, so just because I think me and Jordan Peterson feel the same way about this, I do the same thing where because he basically has a church. Jordan Peterson does, and I'll explain. So he does this thing. I think it's an hour long, and I think it's 30 episodes. Mm-hmm. He does an hour talk, 30 times, and all he's doing is he's trying to like figure out and break down the Bible in real time. And this is just how he talks. This is why his opinions constantly change. But they're usually still, they always go back to what he initially learned, but just also mixed with his experiences. That's why I feel like I agree with so much with him, because I do the same thing. Because I will listen to an expert, but I'll take what he says and I'll bounce it against like, does this make sense based on my experiences in my life? And that's why oftentimes if an expert says something that doesn't make sense to me, I'm like, I realize I either have to look more into it myself or I have to have more life experiences to see where the disconnect is.
I think the problem is you're not respecting of the expert's expertise. You're not respecting the amount of work that they've put into like something.
Well,
like Neil deGrasse Tyson, the dude's an astrophysicist. Do you not think he's an expert?
So here, I'll explain why I feel a certain way about experts, right? So I was obsessed with health because my mom was overweight. Don't feel bad for me. I'm not saying this to win an argument. That's what I grew up with. My mom was overweight and she was also just like insane. I just thought she was unhealthy in general, so I was trying to figure out health. Boom, boom, boom.
Locked in on the wrong aspect of that, but that's okay.
I looked into like a lot of health, right? And then eventually I looked into nutrition. But the problem with nutrition is I learned that to be considered a certified nutritionist, you can only read certain things. You're not allowed to read anything extra or else you lose your certification. So basically to be an expert in nutrition, you have to not read. So I know that's how an expert is in nutrition, but I don't know if that's how experts are in other fields.
Here's my question: How do they govern that?
If you get caught saying something that's not in the required readings, then you get fired and you lose your license.
That doesn't matter. Like you don't have to. You can read other things without.
Well, you can read. Don't
knowing them.
Well, don't get caught. Because the argument is, if you read these other things which we don't have respect for, then you're going to tell people bad advice.
Well, here's my question: What are the other things?
So I'll tell you what I learned.
Because there is a context. You're leaving out an important part of it.
So there's a bunch of things. But
maybe the reason that you're not allowed to read those things is because they've been proven as false.
Maybe. But I don't believe that an expert is necessarily right no matter what.
Well, that's why they review them before they publish.
Anyway, so there's a salt thing. All right, so thing with salt, okay? Now, the basis of our whole belief in salt, okay, is one of them is medically, this is actually a good portion of how the medical field is, and I'm sure you should be able to attest to this, maybe? So, perfect, medical field, experts, there we go. All right, so medically, and I've heard doctors talk about this, they can't know everything. There's just not enough time. You can like specialize in certain things, but if you want to know like everything medically, it's just not going to happen.
You can't.
Right, so you can't really be a medical expert in everything, which sucks because oftentimes people have multiple different things. So a doctor would need to know all the different things, all the different interactions, that kind of thing.
Why doctors are supposed to communicate with each other.
But okay, so oftentimes the medical field is based off of just simply dying. You're dying. Okay, how do we prevent you from dying right now? How do we just extend your life maybe a month or a year or something like that, right? So what they learned is with heart problems, with different type of like obesity or heart or lungs or different kinds of problems, right? A person is dying, they lower their salt, then they don't die. And the conclusion is lower your salt as much as possible. But there's things you can go out and look at that says that's not the case. But a nutritionist is not allowed to look at that. That's not part of the required reading. They have to say, yes, no, the healthy amount of salt is 2 grams a day or less. The studies show that 6 grams is like the best. And then if you go over 6 grams of salt, it gets slightly worse, but going less of salt, going less than 2 grams is actually like the worst.
Well, yeah, because if you need a certain amount of salt in your body
salt is very beneficial.
Absorb hydration, correct?
But the problem is, American diet, I'm sure you can test this too.
Oh, it's so much more salt than that.
Well, hold on. American diet, well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at ingredients of food, what do you see?
Sodium.
You see a million processed things that you don't understand where they came from.
Yeah.
Like experts worked with companies to figure out American food. Experts.
No.
No?
No.
Or they could easily just call them experts.
Yeah, sometimes.
You know what I'm saying?
Actually, no. A lot of the times you'll see is like doctors or they'll say doctors, or they'll say scientists, or they'll say 9 out of 10 dentist, or like they'll say what they are. They will not say that they're an expert because legally you probably can't. If someone is okay.
The definition of expert from what you showed me is loosey-goosey, which means you can't enforce it.
How is it loose?
It's just like, it says your peers have to call you an expert, basically? It
says a person who has comprehensive and authoritative knowledge of a skill in a particular area. Or...
There's nothing quantitative there.
What?
That's how law works.
Yeah,
you need to show things.
They don't say that...
So let's say legally to be an expert, you have to have, I don't know, this peer-reviewed thing, or you have to have a certain thing. Sure, fine. But you'd have to like show me that to see, and then I have to go down that rabbit hole of like, okay, so what I've learned about the medical industry and nutrition industry is it's highly corrupted.
Did you ever see the movie? Did you ever see the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where he calls his girlfriend, his fiance, up to the stand to like talk about the car?
Yeah.
And like he basically asks her a bunch of random car questions to prove that she is an expert?
Yeah.
That's comprehensive and authoritative knowledge. When you can answer things and you have enough knowledge.
I don't think that would have held up in court. A random person, I don't think it would have held up in court.
That's up to the judge.
Sure. But I know how the legal system works. It's very like, it's all about the details. The details is you can throw apart a whole case by if you just throw a little, you don't need much to disrupt, law. I don't know. So let's go back to experts. All right, so if a person's an expert, I don't care. But if a person's an expert with medical or nutrition knowledge, I know for sure I have to do my own research as much as I can. Because if you look at American nutrition and American health, then you look at like a lot of other cultures, their medical system and their health and their like diet and stuff, our health is worse. Now, obviously, health actually has gotten worse throughout the world, I'm pretty sure.
But certain places, I think there's
I'm pretty sure
in Italy has the highest number of people who've lived to be 100.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like
and their diet isn't based on some scientific thing. They just eat natural food.
Right. Well, that's what sucks too. Is like
you just can't get that because you can't make as much money off of it.
Yeah.
They basically go out and they pick food from their own garden.
But what I'm saying is if you can corrupt knowledge of nutrition and medical knowledge, then I think there's definitely a huge benefit to corrupting history.
Oh, of course there is. There are things that you're going to want to cover up.
Well, also let's say there's an expert of there's like all these things, right, in history, right? They know all these things. Sweet. Some of this stuff might be a lie. And you can't know because it's documented and that's how things work. Is it documented? Then you can study it, but it could be a lie.
Okay. That's usually, they don't just go based off of a guess. They go off of documents.
That's what I'm saying.
They go off of first-hand accounts, and usually they will cross-reference those first-hand accounts with other things. Like, a lot of people will use, like, generals' journals or diaries from the Civil War to get information about the Civil War, and they'll cross that with, like, other generals or soldiers or newspaper clippings. Like, you don't just go off of one...
Now, I still think like most of what they learn is probably true. But I've also noticed, like from my experience, like let's say I've noticed multiple different ways. I was in a situation and then they saw me in this situation as A plus B equals C, but they were missing certain parts of the situation and they didn't want to hear it. So now that's documented as a certain thing that happened, but the whole story wasn't told. And that's happened with me a lot.
And more often than not, if it's an important thing like that, eventually the truth will come out because more evidence will come to light.
What do you think about, never mind.
No, say it. We're here.
Sure. So I was on Joe Rogan. There's a guy in there, he's like, no, it got uncovered. I haven't looked into it. But so supposedly, the thing with the JFK, the explanation of the guy that was on Joe Rogan, he said he was like basically he had access to documents and eventually the documents got released. But basically the guy that, one of the guys, I don't know how many people shot JFK.
Just one.
Was it just one? It's confusing. The whole thing is weird. But anyway.
Based on the evidence we have.
Yeah.
There's obviously conspiracy theories, but based on what we know, it was Lee Harvey Oswald.
All right, so
yeah.
supposedly this is what happened, right? This is from the guy that was on Joe Rogan. Could be a lie. I haven't looked into it. So JFK gets shot.
Where was Jamie that time?
He
slacking.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I'll look it up though because I'm curious about it.
Bitch.
So basically, JFK gets shot.
Yeah.
Oh shit! He's over there. So one of the guys that was in front of JFK, goes to
Is this about the CIA?
I don't know who it was.
No, but I mean, is this what's the end game here?
I haven't got there yet.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So supposedly the story is the guy goes to aim, and then I don't know if this is true. I don't know what kind of gun he had either.
I imagine it was pistol if it was service.
So supposedly he aimed it, where he thought the gunshot came from, and he was about to shoot. Then they hit the gas, and then he shot JFK too, on accident.
In the head?
Yeah. Yeah. And supposedly this has been uncovered, and the guy that did it, they wanted to keep it under wraps because they knew if the
so
society
was he saying
found
that the first shot didn't hit JFK?
No, that's not what he said.
Okay, I'm trying to understand.
Well, if you look at there's obviously the movie. It happened to get on Jerry Seinfeld, but I don't know what actually happened.
Jerry Seinfeld?
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah, it was on the show Seinfeld. They made fun of the movie starring Kevin Costner, where he has the whole case about
JFK.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they talk about the magic bullet because it stops, turns around, blah blah blah. Yeah. So again, I don't know what happened in the court. I know the movie that it was talking about, and then Jerry did the same thing. The magic, but and Seinfeld it was the magic loogie. So Kramer got spit on. No, it was great. So Kramer gets spit on, right? This is Kramer getting spit on. It's also got grainy footage. Just, and then,
so stupid.
And then he gets and then the spit. Okay, so he goes, I got shot, right? And then Seinfeld goes, hold on, I've heard this story multiple times, and I'm going to try to recount everything and how it happened. And he talks about how bounces off, stops midair, turns around, makes a left, and then hits you again. I'm saying there were multiple loogie spitters or something like that.
So I've actually,
he even has a pointer thing when he's doing this stuff.
So I've actually heard from I don't remember the exact episode, so I can't say exactly what they did. So I am not an expert.
Yeah.
But I do remember they attempted to prove or not prove the magic bullet theory on MythBusters, and they proved you could do it.
Okay.
The bullet.
I gotta look into that too.
Because I know it's one of the biggest things. The guy was a former soldier. I think he was a former Marine, Oswald. I think it's very likely that JFK wanted to do certain things, and he wasn't going to be blackmailed just for having slept with other women, other than his wife. So they took him out.
Do you believe in the Marilyn Monroe thing?
Of course. That's common knowledge, man. He fucked Marilyn Monroe.
No, not that.
Oh. That they killed her too?
No, hear me out.
Or what are you getting at?
Oh, that she banged both of them.
Who?
Her and Robert, and then Robert had her killed.
I doubt that.
Do you believe it's a plausible suicide? Because I think that's what officially it is.
Yeah, she had serious problems.
I think it's called. Well, it seems like she had.
Well, she overdosed.
Well, you could kill somebody with overdose.
Yeah, of course you could.
Yeah.
But it was very common knowledge that it was happening.
It's like the Kurt Cobain thing. Kurt Cobain was going down a really bad spiral, then he died. But it's who did it? Was it just Kurt Cobain? Was there people that had a part in that?
Sometimes you just have to call a spade if you don't have other evidence to prove it otherwise. You can't, because if you just
take things at face value without intent.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about how before no, intent's important.
Yeah, it is.
But you're saying what I already agree with, which is take things at face value for legal reasons, as opposed to using intent.
No, I don't think so. I feel like you either misheard me or at some point we got our wires crossed.
No, we were talking about intent in the beginning.
We were. No, I understand that part.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the intent was like in the Kurt Cobain thing. The
Yeah.
intent's to kill himself.
Maybe. Or the intent is to do a bunch of drugs all the time.
When he shot himself.
Well, yeah, but leading up to that, he was taking a fatal amount of drugs.
Okay.
So I don't think the
He
intent.
also had clinical depression.
I don't think the intent matters as much as what was happening leading up to it. He was taking a bunch of drugs. He was actually taking a lethal amount of drugs.
Okay.
I think like every day. So you could say, well, because he was already basically killing himself, but failing, whether or not it was intent, he was already leading himself to suicide anyway. So it makes sense if he actually commits suicide. But you could also say, well,
there's
you
a
know.
difference between intentional and accidental.
Well, yeah, sure, but like, what I'm just saying is like you can't. I'll think of more examples because I feel like I don't think you're understanding me with this whole intent thing. My whole issue with intent is you could easily mislead intent and say, look, obviously this person had this intent. Then this person could be like, that's not true though. And then they can be like, well, this says that this was your intent, but it's like, well, fuck, dude, you're putting thoughts in my brain. That's not cool. This is what's happened to me before. I don't like it.
Yeah. Usually, I mean, you can get like experts and like typically psychologists that deal with specifically like body language, that deal with handwriting even, like some, or down to your fucking gait and how you walk. And you can kind of extrapolate a person's mental state.
Jesus Christ, you're further convincing me to just hate that we even use experts at all.
I don't understand why.
You don't? Do you think that innocent people go to jail?
Oh, of course they do.
How much?
Probably pretty often.
I think it's more than 10%.
I think it typically depends on whether or not you can afford a private lawyer or if you're stuck with a public defender who's extremely overworked.
Well, basically, yeah.
I think innocent poor people typically go to jail because they can't afford the legal system, and guilty rich people don't.
Yeah.
I don't think experts play into that. Experts don't get called into poor people trials.
That's fair.
Because
well, it depends.
a public defender doesn't call psychologists. A public defender is going to say, listen, man, I'm too fucking busy to do this. I need you to take this plea deal that they're offering. You're only going to be in prison for 3 years. It's the best I could do. And he shows like, he's got like the disheveled tie. His hair's all fucked up. He's got his shirt's half untucked. And he's just like, look, man, my caseload's insane.
I don't think if you have money, you're guaranteed to win.
Most
and
of
if
the
they're
time
only,
you are.
no, you're not.
Sure can't. Yeah.
Can. It's not guaranteed.
Name one rich person.
Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
They were both rich. He was richer.
They were both rich.
And she's a woman, and people naturally distrust women.
Who lost first?
Amber Heard did.
Nope.
Or did Johnny Depp, but he didn't lose in court. He lost in the court of public opinion.
No, Johnny Depp lost legally before it became public. And then Amber Heard took all the money she got, said that she pledged it all, and then didn't donate any of it, which I think was about $8 million.
Okay.
So Amber Heard won initially for a while. For a while she won.
And then she
And then
fucked up.
and then Johnny Depp worked really hard with his lawyers to go back after her after she like basically ruined him. Like, she didn't quite ruin him because he was still rich afterwards.
Yeah,
but in
how
terms
did
of
she
like,
ruin him?
well, like he had a certain. I mean, it's like the basis of divorce. The basis of divorce in terms of like compensating a wife that's leaving a marriage is she's used to a certain way of life. That's why she gets half. So Johnny Depp's used to a certain way of life. He's getting paid this much. He's doing movies constantly, and all of a sudden it's gone. His movie contracts are over. The money's gone.
That was kind of already.
And plus, people think he's a piece of shit, and he assaults. So yeah, his life was.
I want to say that he had a history of it.
Well, no.
No.
No. He had a history of drinking and doing drugs. That's it. That was his history.
Wasn't there like actual evidence? Like, what I'm saying is, I can understand why they ruled in her favor at first, because there was literally like audio evidence of him hitting her. So
basically, it came out in the second thing that happened, the Amber Heard versus Johnny thing that we all saw. That basically she was just lying constantly. Now, there was evidence. They were able to show that, like, yes, he was drinking too much and he was doing too many drugs. And just because of that, no matter what, he was going to end up losing some money. So he did
Kind of
lose
just
some.
sounds to me like they both suck.
Yes.
I'm not, and I understand that. I don't know what your point. Yeah.
Rich people can still lose. Trump's pretty rich, right? Oh my God, for Alex Jones? How rich is Alex Jones? He's always like $1 billion, I think.
Okay. When you actively televise your stupidity.
I'm just saying, if
and
you're
also,
rich.
Trump has not been convicted of anything.
I thought he did get convicted.
No.
But I thought he had to pay $400 million or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? I thought he was already convicted.
He's appealing.
Oh, but he did get convicted, right? He's just
Are you
appealing
talking
the
about New York?
conviction.
Which one?
So they're basically saying like, hey,
the New York one?
the property thing.
Actually, yeah, that one might.
They said, hey, you
Hold
fudged the
on.
numbers. And then Trump and pretty much everybody else was like, well, yeah, because the numbers are basically made up anyway. You basically get someone to appraise your property for a certain value, then you say it's worth that much, and then you take loans out like that. And that's how real estate works. And then they're like, yeah, but Trump did it, so fuck him.
Not exactly.
If you know more about it, then
No,
I'm
the
curious.
problem isn't what he did. The problem is that he told the bank it was worth more, and he told the IRS it was worth less. So he lied on two fronts.
Ooh, nice.
No, that's extremely illegal.
Boy, well, you know. Well, it's funny. It's funny because he got caught. If that's what actually happened, I could look more into it. Jamie, still don't have a Jamie.
Where's
That
Heather?
would be nice. No, fuck that.
You don't want Heather to be our Jamie?
No.
Okay.
No, Heather's got her own life. This is our shitstorm we do.
I don't want to get too much into Trump. It's just that's a fucking rabbit hole of garbage that I don't feel like doing.
But yeah, like experts, I think experts can be very beneficial.
Yeah.
I do think the legal system's basis is simply.
I'm not saying you only listen to experts. And
I thought
I'm
you
also
were.
No, I'm saying don't just automatically negate what they say.
Oh, no, I don't do that either.
Like you can do your own research, but also understand that you, in terms of certain things, you're just not going to know as much. Even if you do research for 10 years, you're not going to know as much as that expert.
I also think that.
I'm talking more in the sense of like people who were like distrustful of like vaccine scientists, or people who are distrustful of. It's usually scientists. Weirdly enough, always think scientists are lying for some reason.
Did you hear about when we on purpose gave people syphilis?
Yeah.
Did you hear about when we on purpose gave people crack? Actually sold crack?
Yes, I know what you're saying. Do you want to know who?
How do you keep trust when things like this happen?
Because those were government-led. Those were not science-led. They weren't doing an experiment based on like scientific evidence. Now you want to know who?
There was probably doctors there.
You want to know who actually?
There was probably doctors there.
Yeah, I bet they were. I bet they had some medical training. You want to know what they probably weren't? Credited.
I'm sure they seemed like they were.
Having knowledge and being creditable are not the same thing.
No, I'm just saying. Hey, look, guys, trust these guys. Well, I look like I can trust them. Okay.
To me, that doesn't mean distrust doctors. That means distrust the government that set up the program.
Well, the government's the main reason that our medical system is so fucked up.
Yeah. Well, that and just money in general.
And nutrition and the schooling system is fucked up because of government too.
Well, it's money. It's
Well,
not the government. What is the quickest and easiest way to make the most amount of money? That's literally
government gets power first. Government has more power.
Government does not have more power than money.
Corporations catch up. Corporation buys out government. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But initially, yes, it was the government. That was the thing that ran things.
Do you know who made up the government?
Probably company owners.
Yeah. So it's always been about money.
Well, that's.
Want to know why we wanted to be our own country?
But saying it's about money.
Because of money. Rich people wanted to pay less taxes. Also, the English government was leaning towards abolishing slavery in their colonies, and the U.S. was like, that will tank our economy.
What's the number one reason to lie then?
The number one reason to lie? Mm-hmm. The number one reason to lie
if everything's about money.
To make more money.
Okay, so wouldn't it be beneficial to get anybody to lie?
It depends on who it is. Would it be beneficial for the doctor? No. Would it be beneficial to the scientist? No. Because if you ever get caught, your entire career is ruined.
But watch
now,
this.
Is it beneficial to the business person to convince that doctor to lie? Yes.
But
because now they can say, I paid 9 doctors to say this is the best you could possibly do.
But check this out too, all right?
Yeah.
So the expert can get in trouble, right?
Yes.
Okay,
That's why
what if this person says there's an expert and there is no expert? That person probably gets in trouble, but is he going to get accredited?
Wait,
is he going to get discredited? He's not an expert in the
sci-
first place. He has nothing to lose. I mean, well, he has something to lose, but at the same time, the people paying him can just give him a little hush-hush money after the fact, after he
First
gets
of all,
caught.
if he's not credited and he says he's an expert and he's propped up by a company,
He's not saying he's an expert.
the company's saying he's an expert.
No.
Who's saying he's an expert?
This guy is saying there's expert opinion saying these things. No names, just expert opinion. He can't lose his expert license because he's not an expert in the first place. He can get in trouble, sure, but the company paying him can just give him a little extra if he gets caught. Scapegoat.
I'm very confused as to what you're saying. Are you saying...
You can just tell people there's experts.
Okay, hold on. Are you saying that a company is paying a guy who isn't an expert to say he's an expert?
No.
Then where does expert come into this?
All right. Company, person 1, person 2. Person 2 is an expert, doesn't exist. Person 1 is saying that this guy's an expert, but person 2 doesn't exist in the first place. It doesn't matter.
You're just saying blatantly telling a lie about another person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then this person
That's
gets in
illegal.
trouble. This person gets in trouble, but he's a scapegoat anyway, so it doesn't matter.
The company also gets in trouble for propping him up.
If they get caught.
It would literally take the simplest and most small search to prove that they're wrong.
Just get a lawyer. If you have money, you get away with it, right? Isn't that what you just said?
There are some things you can't get away with.
You can't get away with that? Oh, you're saying people can't get away. Wait, do you think that a lot of times people don't get away with anything?
I'm saying that it depends. I think sometimes people think they can get away with anything and then they realize they can't because certain things you can't just. There is a fine line where if you cross it, there's no amount of money that can protect you.
I think
because you're just blatantly lying.
I think most companies get away with most things.
That's mostly because we don't trust news anymore. Because a news story can come out and say, well, this person lied about this. This expert that they're talking about doesn't exist.
Well, if this person's lying about this person who's lying about this person, lying about this person, there's such a crazy chain of so many liars, then who do you even get upset with?
The company that paid the guy.
Yeah, but like here's what's really interesting about companies too, right? So there's companies, actually pretty much how it works now is companies own the other companies. And this companies own these companies because all these companies have stocks in all these other companies. So basically like everything's owned by everything together, basically.
Okay.
So you're not going after a company. I mean, you could, but if you did go after a company, because that's how companies work, company is a legal entity, you could just simply like move some stuff around. That company doesn't matter anymore. Move the money, the people somewhere else. That company's dead.
Okay,
this company is the same thing, and there's just a different name.
What's your point?
The point is that it's very easy, in my opinion, to lie and get away with it if you're a company. You don't need an expert. You just need money and the
Audacity?
lie. Huh?
Audacity?
Well, we got that in spades, baby.
You know what usually breeds audacity?
What's
Money. Believing that you can just pay. Believing you can just basically change the truth by paying enough money.
Yeah, that's how it works.
No, it isn't. The truth is the truth.
Okay. I don't believe that at all.
Money doesn't change reality.
I've been lied to more than you, I think.
I doubt it.
Because I'm a firm believer that everyone's basically lying all the time.
I mean, I feel like people are usually lying.
So if
That
everyone's
doesn't change reality.
Well, it does, kind of. Well, it
Did you ever
changes.
see the invention of lying?
It changes belief. It influences belief.
Yeah,
I have seen. Well, it got old because at some point in the invention of lying, after he's just trying to get laid, bless his heart, then he's like,
He becomes like a religion.
Yeah, I knew what it was going towards, and I was like, nope, done. And then I just turned it off.
It did kind of ruin it for me too. I turned it off.
Yeah.
because it bothered me.
Actually, lying's okay as long as you use it to make people feel better about dying. Oh, that's really a bad taste in my mouth. Thank you, movie. And then I shut it off. And also, the movie was just cringe up to that point anyway, because that guy's a psychopath. I do love his comedy, but he's fucking nuts.
He's nuts.
Ricky Gervais. He went, oh man, I love the fact that he called out Hollywood. That was great.
That's fine, but like,
I love him for that.
I think it's fine to call out Hollywood, but he's kind of a piece of shit himself.
Probably. They all are. Everyone is, kind of. You're not. I like you. Where's the camera? There it is. You're all right.
Anyway, back to the other point. Money doesn't change reality. It doesn't change the truth.
Sure. Well, there is,
It can change opinion. It doesn't change truth.
Well, if you believe that everything you know is the truth.
I don't. I don't believe that everything I know is the truth, but that doesn't mean that I think that it can be altered.
Well, it's just semantics then.
That's not semantics.
It is, because I
don't have the ego to think that I know everything.
Half the world believes this one thing. Haha, but it's not the truth. Well, yeah, but they believe it's the truth.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
If everyone believes something on Earth and they say it's the truth, I mean, sure, it's not the truth technically, but that's how the world works. All we have to do is agree on it. Then it's the truth.
No, because everyone thought that the Earth revolved around the sun. I mean, everyone thought that the sun revolved around the Earth, and it's not true.
Well, actually, from what I heard, it's we did believe what it's actually.
That's the flat Earth theory.
No, hear me out. But we did for a little bit of time, I don't think it was a lot, think that the sun revolved around the Earth.
Everyone in ancient Greece believed that a chariot pulled the sun across the sky.
Did they actually believe it?
Yes.
You don't know what they believed.
Where do you think myths come from? Religion that people believe.
I'm American, which means I'm probably a Christian. Do I believe God exists?
Do you?
You don't know.
Tell me.
No, I'm telling you that you can't know people's beliefs. Because they could just lie about it. Do you believe in Greek mythology? I do, please don't hurt me. Okay, see, everybody agrees. Everybody believes in it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, people have, oftentimes also, to go back to survival, lying becomes survival. It's helped me a lot, that's for sure. I've been in some bad places and I had to basically lie to survive. I mean, come on, everyone has different beliefs, right? That can't just be a new thing.
Of course everyone has different beliefs.
That's probably been a thing forever.
You're missing, I understand that people have different beliefs. That doesn't mean that what they believe is true.
Sure.
That's literally all I'm trying to say. Can you back up what you say with evidence? No. Then you're probably wrong.
Yeah, basically. Well, not really. Well, that's not really what I'm saying, but...
I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. You've just gone in circles. At a certain point, you said that if people have enough money and enough people believe something, that means it's true, and it's just not the case.
Well, people believe it's true.
I don't care what people believe.
Well, it can change the world if they all believe the wrong thing.
Of course it can.
Yeah, it sucks.
Doesn't mean it's right.
Sure. There's a lot of stuff that's true right now that's not actually true.
I want to say, was it Galileo was killed because he believed a certain scientific property that was proved
How about
correct?
this? I want you to tell me something that you believe is true, that you think probably most people don't agree with you on.
Oh shit. Hold on. I really need to think about that.
Or the other way.
I'm not super well versed in science, man, so it's really hard for me to say. I don't know if I have any.
I don't mean just science, just anything.
Something that I believe is true that most people don't?
Or either one.
Or
so
what?
either something you don't believe that most people do, or something you don't believe, or you know what I mean? So either you do believe it and they don't, or you don't believe it and they do. Either one. Basically something that you're a contrarian about. I would say probably you probably don't believe in God.
I mean, I don't.
That's probably that's got to be less than half.
And I grew up in Texas.
That's got to be less than half.
Depending on the location, probably.
No, I'd say the whole world. The whole world doesn't believe in God.
Here's what's
What do you
crazy.
think the percentage of that is?
I've actually looked up recently, and the percentage of people who don't believe in God has been rapidly growing.
Oh, really? But you know, like, can you give me any numbers? I'll look it up later.
I would just have to.
I need to just make a list next time.
But I would just probably.
A list of stuff I gotta look up.
Stats. Well, we don't know where our conversation's going to go beforehand, so it's hard to do.
No, I mean, no.
Maybe at the beginning of each video.
I mean, afterwards. I mean, during.
So you
just take notes.
Take notes, and then
and
at the
bring
beginning,
it up the next video.
The next video, look up all the stats of the questions you had.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. Well, it's too late. We didn't do that now. I don't know if I can remember it.
I'm not going to remember everything, so maybe next time we'll try and remember.
Yeah.
But it's not even just that. I believe we have enough food, enough money, enough houses for everyone to have all of their
needs,
all of their livelihood needs, without it damaging us.
Yeah, I agree.
See, you agree,
Yeah.
but I would say a majority of people, especially where we're at, don't.
Oh, really?
I would say that. Because then I brought
I think it's more that they don't want all the food to go to all the people.
Yeah, they don't want people to just get things. Which I'm like, why? I've never understood that. Why do you not want that?
Well, I could tell you somebody.
I know there's plenty of people who are like, well, they didn't work for it. They don't deserve it. I'm like, why don't they deserve it?
I know.
They deserve it for being human.
I know 2 people that don't deserve to be out of jail, period.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, sure, I'm just saying, so I just think that is probably similar to how someone has enough contempt for a group or a person or a couple people, they feel like they don't deserve certain things. Now, I'm not saying that they're justified in having that belief.
Those are 2 wildly different things, depending on what you're talking about.
Really?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I guess it's different because, you have your,
If you're talking about, if you're saying, does a murderer deserve to not be in jail? No. But or a child molester, do they deserve to not be in jail? No. Does a human being? I'm not putting any other prerequisites.
We both know the kind of people,
of course,
that don't want certain people. We don't have to go. We don't have to step around that. We know what we're talking about.
Yeah, conservatives. They don't want people to have things because they're
not all conservatives. But then that's become so vague now that conservative doesn't mean anything anymore. Just like all these trigger terms don't mean anything anymore because they've gotten too loose, which really sucks.
They've just been used so many times for things that they aren't, that they don't.
They get used to make a point. Yeah. They get used for deception and to lie and to manipulate.
Yes, they are. They are.
And then now we have these words that we're so ingrained with.
Do you want to know what part of the problem is? Is that no one ever the people who agree with them don't look it up afterwards.
We can just change it.
And if they're called out by a good journalist,
I've watched trigger words change definition.
They'll say things like, well, these liberal, and they're like, my favorite thing to see is people who use the term woke negatively. And then the interviewer.
There's different definitions for woke.
The interviewer will say, okay, well, what does woke mean? And then they'll literally just not speak.
Yeah.
And just let them try.
I see both sides do it.
Let them try to explain it, and then they're just like, but am I saying that it doesn't happen on the left, where people will say conservative or they'll say something or other?
Both sides.
What does that mean to you?
Both sides have puppets that don't think, which sucks. If they just thought and they got interviewed, they could just pivot from that talking point that they're used to their actual belief, but they don't have that.
Well, you have to actually believe the thing you're talking about to have that.
Or just know what it means, know the context, know what else you can talk.
Not just be a.
Or just know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Can I just say, without you getting weird, I think that more often than not, the left is more like that than the right is. The right will typically just say, "Are you loud? Are you charismatic? Cool. We just won't have you do interviews. All you'll do is have your little show, and you just talk into a camera, and we'll never make you talk to a person."
Yeah, the right is stand-up comedians, and the left is slam poetry.
There is a significant amount of left stand-up comedians.
No, you know what I'm saying? what's like the vibe of like a Republican? They're like hyping up the crowd and shit. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Slam poetry, we're trying to get people emotional. So it's different. If you don't go to slam poetry to get hyped up or laugh or like or feel, you want to feel pain. So yeah, that's the goal. I think
it's just you feel pain already, and you want to be around people.
Well,
who
if
also
you,
feel pain.
I think
I
think the stuff that goes along with like that side of politics goes along with pain. Because pain is how you know what you care about. If you don't feel pain, you don't care about anything.
If something gives you pain, you know you care about it.
Exactly.
If the idea of something hurts you, then you know that it's important.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up because you get to figure out what you care about by your pain. Oh shit, okay.
We've been talking for a hot minute.
Hey buddy, we hit our hour-and-a-half goal.
Yeah, we did.
So I'm gonna see if you watched this whole stupid thing. I almost feel bad for people. We went in circles a few times.
We did. I know that. I'm sorry that I was so clearly frustrated a couple of times.
I hope that's part of the entertainment because I think some people agree with me, some people agree with you, but probably some people are just interested in
conversation.
Why are these two people even talking because they disagree so much? But I love this guy.
That's so important.
I say wild shit that I know a lot of people are going to think that I'm crazy for, and he doesn't judge me for it. So I'm going to hang out with him as much as I can.
I want everyone to know what we just did is incredibly important, and also the way we did it. We disagree on a lot of things. We also agree on a lot of things. But you notice we never shouted, we never yelled, we never called each other names. We didn't make wild statements about the other person's character. I wouldn't even know if it would be called debate, argue. I don't even know if you would.
You could call it a debate.
We just had a conversation. And that's all that I think. If have the conversation.
Yeah.
Unless they're literally screaming in your face and you know that what you're saying anything isn't going to matter, not at all, then just cut your losses because that's not going to happen.
I disagree. This is what you do, okay? Find out someone disagrees with you, and then you immediately think about options of violence. I won't tell you what exactly to do, but just think it over. Because really, like, differing opinions, you don't want to live with that.
Couch Tomatoes does not endorse violence. Couch Tomatoes does not endorse violence. Please don't.
But You're Invited does. You're Invited
does not
to
endorse
violence.
It doesn't do that.
Also,
don't hurt each other for no reason.
I'm just kidding. Please don't hurt each other.
Wow, that's so...
Please.
That's so honest. I'll say it with honesty. Don't hurt each other. You think it's hard, it's really not. If someone says something that makes you want to punch them in the face, it's real simple. Don't.
But what if they got hurt?
What do you mean?
Hurt people. Should they
stop the cycle?
Should they stop the cycle?
Yes.
I agree. You should stop the cycle.
If someone hits you, you don't have to hit them back. You can if you know that what they're going to do is not going to stop. But if a person hits you once, you don't have to hit them back.
I'm a firm believer in laughing at them and hurting their feelings.
See, that's fine. Hurt all the feelings.
Or basically, like, just tell them that you feel bad for them because they've obviously had a very traumatized childhood, which is probably true.
And also, if someone ever says that they're an alpha male, ask them if that's a furry thing.
That's a stupid thing.
Or if they say they're top dog, it's like, I'll bet you are a top dog.
If you think you're an alpha male, just understand that with great power comes great responsibility.
Also understand that that's not what an alpha is. The guy who made that statement about wolves spent the rest of his career trying to pull it back, and he never could.
Yeah, because what happened?
Because it got out of control.
A wildly held belief.
Yeah, that wasn't true.
That was funny. I said that on accident, but it's true. Wildly held belief.
That wasn't true. And the guy who originally said it spent the rest of his life trying to tell people that he was wrong then.
That's what happens when you have a lack of trust.
That's not a lack of trust. That's just not willing to listen to the person who made the original statement. Because opinions can and should change.
Well, yeah, but people...
if presented with new evidence.
People listen to the most interesting thing. And oftentimes, the most interesting thing, if you really look into it, becomes... it just becomes boring. It was true, but it's true in such a way that's very
The truth is often boring.
It's predictable and it's boring.
Yeah.
Because
That doesn't mean it isn't
You
true.
just leave out pieces of the context. And then it's boring. But also, like,
It's supposed to be.
if a rich person, like, gets a bunch of money through any kind of way, I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. Did they lie? Okay.
Probably.
Did they tell the truth? Either way, as long as they made money, that's what rich people do. That's how that works.
Yeah, they more than likely exploited people.
What do poor people do? Well, they get taught how to be poor, then they live that life, and then
Write that down because that is something I do want to talk about next time.
We get taught how to be poor. It sucks.
It's actually, I'll go ahead and just throw this in there. It was actually a Polish sociologist who decided, I don't need people to be smart, I need factory workers.
Yeah.
So
No, it's brilliant, yeah.
They manufactured the education system to make you just smart enough to work in the factory.
He wanted the more money. He needed more factory workers.
I'm actually planning to go back to school to be a teacher, so specifically Montessori.
What's Montessori?
It's a teaching method. It's basically teaching you how to problem solve. It's kind of crazy. Like one of the main things they teach, it's like before they teach you how to read and write, they make sure that you can do like jumping jacks actively because they want to make sure that your brain can communicate, the halves of your brain can communicate with each other.
Interesting.
So that you can actually logically think and problem solve rather than just memorize things and spew them back onto a piece of paper.
That's a factory worker.
Exactly. But what they were saying is like only like 8% or something. It's probably less than that. It's like a very, very small number of Montessori. There's a very small number of students in Montessori schools. It's like a very small number, but 3 of the 4 founders of the 4 biggest companies in the world. What was it? It was Steve Jobs, Microsoft. Who's Microsoft?
Bill Gates.
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, I think Elon Musk, and Elon Musk all were Montessori school students. Jeff Bezos wasn't, but his kids go to one.
Nice.
They teach you differently. They teach you how to figure things out.
No, you shouldn't do that. That's dumb.
Well, it's dumb if you're trying to control people, but if
trying
you
to
want
make
people
more
to
money,
be
yeah.
actually better people.
If you want to make
intelligent-
less money.
Anyway, we're doing it again. We're rambling. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and sign off on this episode. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment with questions if you have questions you want us to talk about on our next thing. We love having these conversations. But yeah, see you guys later.